Good morning, Year 8. Okay, so our final lesson of the term. I imagine you're very excited to have a little break, a bit of time to catch up on all the reading that you've been falling behind on, or maybe just an opportunity to finally knock the head on that brilliant TV series you've been enjoying. For now, just one more lesson before we go, and a chance for you to give me something to mark over the holidays, a chance for you to give me something to show how much progress you've been making at these sonnets. So, we're going to have a question, and I'll go through it task by task. Task 1 is just going to ask you to read the poem again. So it's worth just going over it again. Now that we've broken it down into all its little parts, read it through one more time and think about this question. Sassoon's depiction of the soldiers is horrifying. To what extent do you agree? So a key word here is depiction. Depiction means the way in which they're presented. So, the depiction of the soldiers is horrifying. I don't think this question is saying that the soldiers come across as bad people, but it's about the depiction of what they're going through. Is that horrifying? Is it something that sort of scares us? Is it appalling in what we imagine they have had to experience? So, I've highlighted as well the octave, the first 8 lines in the poem, and then the sestet. There's a slight mood shift, similar to how we had that mood shift in the other sonnets, particularly think about Remember, which started out very maudlin, very sad, and perhaps became a little bit more hopeful later on. Okay, so just read through the poem, think about it for a moment. Okay, so you've read through the video, you've thought, look at me, you've read through the poem, you've thought about it, and now you're ready to move on to task 2. You're thinking, okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got a grasp of what's going on in the poem. I think I know what's horrifying about their experience. And now I think I am ready to plan my answer. So this time, what I've got for you is a planning grid that you should fill in before you start writing. Then when you come to write, it's just a question of putting it all together. This, I think, will probably make it a little bit easier than last time where I gave you the framework and suggested you find the quotes, because this way you're bound to have something to talk about before you start writing. So, I've given you the points that you can make in each paragraph. Of course, if you want, you can freewheel and do it yourself. It's fine. But if you want to use this grid, what you need to do is you need to find 2 quotations per paragraph to use in your response. So, you'll see the first example is given for you. The depiction of the soldiers is horrifying because they are at the mercy of the tough landscape and are destined to die in battle. So the answer to this is that yes, the horrifying part of the poem is that they are really having such a terrible time because of the place that they're in and the fact that they're just bound to die. So, how does Sassoon the poet manage to make the place seem terrifying? How does he manage to make it seem like they are destined to die in battle? Well, found the quotation, and in the ruined trenches lashed with rain. So, what's the point of this quotation? Why does that make the landscape seem so horrible? Well, the connotations of the adjective ruined as something being completely destroyed, that's something that we think of when we see that word. This word connotations is so helpful when you're talking about something in English. It's essentially, where does my mind go when I see this word? It's a bit like saying the connotations of all sorts of things. The connotations of school students is that they're young and they are very innovative, right? The connotations of a bus are public transport and community. Okay, so think of that whenever you're looking at a word in a poem or in literature. It's so helpful to be able to use this word connotations. The connotations of the adjective ruined is that we think of something being completely destroyed. And that's why these trenches seem so terrible. Some of it might seem a bit obvious when you're talking about connotations, but it's really worth pointing it out because it's your way of showing that you understand what the writer was trying to achieve. lashed with rain. So again, the violent and painful connotations of the onomatopoeic adjective lashed. So this word, lashed, makes us think of pain and violence. You might think of someone being whipped or tortured or something. It's a really horrible word. So the fact that they're being lashed with rain reminds us what a terrible experience it is to be a soldier. So then you want to find another quotation from the poem to support the idea that they are destined to die in battle or that they're at the mercy of a tough landscape. You can then explain what's going on here. You might want to say the connotations of this word or this phrase make us think of. Then, the other paragraph, the depiction of the soldiers is horrifying because they are dreaming and longing for their ordinary peaceful lives that they have been forced to abandon for the war. Well, you will remember from our previous lessons that there's that contrast in the poem of what they think they would like to be doing rather than miserably fighting on a battlefield. So you want to try and find a quotation that shows them thinking of a previous time before they were at war, then analyse what's going on in that quote, what does that make us think of, and then find another quote that shows them thinking of a time before war or the things that they would have got up to, think about the language features used. So, off you go and do that now, and then come back for task 3. Okay, so on we go. You've got some quotes, you've filled in the table, now you're thinking, how do I put it all together? Well, there's something that's just hopefully a little more easily laid out than the last time I gave you a framework. So the point is, firstly, the depiction of the soldier is horrifying. You've seen this before. That's the first sentence of your paragraph. It sets out what you're going to talk about. Well then, you need to give an example. You need to back it up with some evidence. So you can say Sassoon describes, you could say Sassoon describes the battlefield, or Sassoon describes the place where they're fighting as the ruined trenches, where they are lashed with rain. And you make sure to put those in quotation marks here. And then that's where you say this highlights how horrible the experience is because, always aim for the use of the word because of the connotations of the word ruined. And then so on and so on. Repeat with the second explanation. Repeat the second example, second explanation, then link to the question. Overall, it's clear that these battlefields are terrible places, you wouldn't want to be there. And then into the second paragraph. You can, if you want, take these parts, copy and paste them below so that it all forms one big paragraph, or if you want, you could just carry it on here and write your answer that way. And I will give you a mark. Some people last time did some really good work, and I could tell they were really thinking about the poem and trying to show to me how much they understood it. So I was really proud of that, and I hope that you improve a little bit this time. Keep getting better and better. Have a lovely day once you're finished. Please ask me if you want any recommendations for books. I'm very excited to hear what you're reading about all the time. If you finish early, take the rest of the lesson to read a book and let me know what you're reading. Okay, have a lovely holidays.